Okay, so today we're going to talk about common multiples and least common multiples. And the reason that we need to know what these are is because when we add or subtract fractions, we need to have a common denominator. And by finding least common multiples, we can find a common denominator that's easy to work with. So let's go ahead and do some examples, and I'll show you how we would use this when we're working with fractions too. Okay, so for number 1, they want us to find the least common multiple of 3 and 6. So what I'll do is I'll list out the multiples for each of these two numbers. 3, 6, 9, 12. And if you're wondering how I'm finding these numbers, I'm just multiplying 3 by different numbers. 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4, 3 times 5, and so on. I don't really need that many for this one, so I'll just write a couple. And then 6, let's write out some multiples. 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, and I'm going to go ahead and stop there because I already see several common multiples. So common multiples are the multiples that they have the same. Okay, so here I see 6 is one of them, 12 is one of them, and 18 is another one. Okay, however, the least common multiple, the one that has the least value, is 6. And when I'm working with fractions, the reason I'm going to want to choose the least common multiple is because it will make it easier to work with. Sometimes you might see a video or another example that says when you work with fractions, you should multiply the two denominators together, and that will give you a common multiple. That's true. It will give you a common multiple. But 3 times 6 is 18. So although it's common, it's not the least common multiple. And it just makes it easier to work with our fraction and easier to simplify if we're using the least common multiple. Okay, so let's create our own question here. Let's say I had 1/3 plus 5/6. Okay, so I've already decided my least common multiple is 6, and so I will use that as my new denominator. So let me rewrite the question using 6. So here we know that whatever we did on the bottom, we have to do to the top. 3 times 2 is what gave us this 6. So whatever I did here on the denominator, I would do here on the numerator. 1 times 2 is 2. In this fraction, the denominator was already the same, so I didn't need to change it. Okay, so then I would add these together, and I will get 7/6. Remember, once you find the least common multiple and use it as your denominator, you won't add those two together. The denominator will stay the same. So 7/6, I don't like that this is an improper fraction, so I'll go ahead and fix that. So that would be 1 and 1/6. Okay, so let's do some more examples here, and let's talk about how we find these numbers. Okay, so number 2 says 7 and 10. 7 and 10. Well, when I'm looking at this, I can already tell that these numbers only have one possible choice for me to use, and that's going to be 70. When I multiply the two of these together, I will get 70. Because when I think through the multiples of 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, and then 70. This is the only one that's also a multiple of 10. Okay? So that's how I would think through that. Let's look at some of the numbers and see if we can tell what multiple they would have in common. 8 and 12. Well, let's go ahead and write this one out. Number 3. 8 and 12. So I have 8, 16, 24, 32. Okay, and then 12, I have 12 and 24. And I'm already seeing that 24 is the least common multiple. It's the lowest number that they have in common as one of their multiples. So 24. 2 and 5. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I know 10 is also a multiple of 5. Do you see how I thought through that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And that was the first multiple of 5 that I came to. Okay, why don't you go ahead and work out some more of these? Some of them are very easy to figure out. Some of them you might need to write out your multiples and choose the least common one. Okay, let's work out these word problems together, thinking about the least common multiples. Number 13. Rosario is buying pens for school. Blue pens are sold in packages of 6. Black pens are sold in packages of 3. Green pens are sold in packages of 2. What is the least number of pens she can buy to have equal numbers of pens in each color? Okay, so blue pens are sold in packages of 6. Blue equals 6. Black is 3. And green is 2. So I already know that the smallest number of pens I could have in each color would be 6 because that's the highest number in any given package. Let's use our least common multiples to figure out how much could be in each package or how much we could have of each color. Okay, 6, 15, and then 3. I'll write the multiples here. 3, 6, 9, 12. Some of you have probably already figured this out. 2, 4, 6. There it is. That is the number they have in common. All 3 of these numbers have the same multiple in common, and that's a 6. So we want to know the least number of pens, but we want to know the total number of pens. So if she bought one package of blue, that would be 6. Or, yes, and if she bought one package of black, that would be 3. So we want to get them to be equal. So let's get 2 packages of black. That's also 6. And for green, let's get 3 packages of green to equal the same number. Okay, so how much is that? 18. So that would be the answer. The least number of pens she could buy would be 18 pens. And then she would have 6 of each number. Okay. Why don't you read number 14 and try to work that one out on your own? Again, thinking about least common multiple. 6-ounce cans and 10-ounce cans. Number 15 is about pizzas. Read the question and circle your answer. Number 16 says, why is 35 the least common multiple of 7 and 5? Let's think about that. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. Now let's try 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So it's the least common multiple because they have no other multiples in common that are less than this. Okay, so 35 will be the common multiple that is also the least. Let's look at this number and this number. What do you know about these two numbers? If you said they are prime numbers, you are correct. So when you're trying to find a common multiple of prime numbers, you will need to multiply those two numbers together. They won't have any other multiples in common before their product, if that makes sense. So 7 times 5 is 35. Okay, very good. Well done, boys and girls.